NDTV Profit Special Women's Edition. I am Mahima Vajrajani. Today, we are turning our focus on a group of investors in the stock markets. They are steadily but quietly increasing in number, and they're digging their heels in for the long term. And I literally mean heels. Women investors are the subject of this unique conversation today. In fact, the latest AMFI CRISIL fact book data shows that more and more women are now investing in mutual funds, and they have really taken to SIPs. 1 in every 4 mutual fund investors is a woman. This remarkable shift is not just in the number of women investing, but also in the average folio size. Women outpace men with a 24% increase in folio size compared to 6% for men between March 2019 to March 2024. Now, remember, a recent SEBI survey also showed that women trading in futures and options recorded lower losses as compared to men. Now, what does this tell us about women investor? Is she risk averse? Is she willing to want to create wealth, or is she simply testing the waters? To discuss all of this, I'm joined by a very special panel of guests and members today, that is Millennium Mams Club, a non-profit organization creating financial awareness and literacy amongst women. The founder and mentor of the club, Bishnu Dhanuka, also joining us from Kolkata, and one of their gurus, ace investor, chairperson and managing director of Prabhudas Leeladhar Group, Amisha Vora, also joining us in the studio. Amisha, welcome to NDTV Profit and welcome to this edition of Women's Day special. Before I open the ground to all the beautiful ladies out there, my first question to you is, I would want to start with this question. Women investors definitely are increasing day in and day out, but a woman investor who's 21 years old today, who's wanting to test those waters, what is that one advice that you would want to give her?
First and foremost, thank you so much to NDTV, to Dhanuka ji and Millennium Mom to make this program on Women's Day. This is one topic which is so close to my heart, because women's financial literacy also encourages women's independent decision making, and in turn, progress and happiness in her life. So this is a very crucial thing. One advice to a 21-year-old, I will say that if she wants to start her journey of savings to wealth creation, please remember these 2 words. It is savings which turns into wealth. So you need to also learn to save in the first place, and wealth creation is a journey. It is not one infrequent dabbling into markets. So whenever you do a wealth creation journey, you have to first protect your risks so that your capital is intact, and over long term, it gives you a power which is much more than the money lying into a savings account is. That's the only thing this journey is all about. Measure your risk of what you are doing. Right. If you control the risk, outcomes are always going to be better.
Absolutely. So I think risk is one factor that one needs to, definitely measure when investing comes into picture. Very rightly said, Amisha. Mr. Dhanuka, I'll come to you. You formed this amazing not-for-profit organization, Millennium Mams, and it's very interesting, and I must really appreciate the kind of work that you're doing. My question to you is that what was the idea when you started this, and what are your foreseeable targets? I mean, right now, when I was speaking to your members of the club, they said that now you're globally also present. So what are the aims looking like, and what is the overall picture that you're foreseeing today?
Good evening, Mahima, and good evening, Mishadi. Actually, when I started this concept of Millennium Mams, I knew that there is a big need. We started 30 years back, and I knew at that time, and I know at this point of time also, that there is a big need, and that's why you will wonder that we are getting students from all over the world. Now, what Amisha ji is saying, that earning money and creating wealth, they are two different. We have mixed up both. No, earning money is happening all over the country, but whether they are able to create that money into wealth, for that, I simply believe that unless until you give time as you are giving for your business or profession, give time at least 10 hours in a week. 10 hours in a week for wealth creation. Wealth creation will never happen. And there are so many factors to create wealth, but you should be very, very careful about risk. As Amisha ji has said, risk. First of all, if you fulfill certain conditions, then there is no risk. Like my guru, Warren Buffett, said that there are two rules of the game. One is never lose money, and second is follow rule number one. Then I analyzed Mahima that how can he commits this type of thing. Then I understood if you follow his principle, you cannot lose money. You cannot lose money. So risk is also overplayed in the market. If you are following this investment module as science, then generally speaking, you cannot lose money.
I think what he said is completely right. If you use that investment module as science, you will definitely not lose money in markets. Amisha,
Yes.
you know, today there are, the technological progress has been, at such a large scale that a woman who's, even if she's a housewife managing her kids, she's able to trade or invest from home. I want you to, address those women out there, who can benefit from these technological advancements, and what would your advice be to these women?
So I think one thing which is very important, and which is what Dhanuka ji also emphasized, that for earning money, you invest your full day. So to make that money grow, also you have to invest some time. If you agree to this principle, then what happens is, man is busy earning money typically. If the two are not, both are not working, then women can very well invest this time to grow the understanding of markets. And as a first step, we also need to understand what is speculation, what is investments. That concept I don't think is clear. Anything hearsay which you have not understood, even if it is investments with full amount, is speculation. Anything which you understand, that means you understand the risk, you understand the possibility of return, and you have a judgment, is investments.
Right.
Correct? So for any woman who's a housewife, if he wants to start the wealth creation journey, I would still say it is better to start with mutual fund.
Right.
Unless she undergoes that little training, that little reading, and creates that mindset,
Right.
then she should dabble directly.
Right.
In case she wants to trade, then she has to learn the techniques of trade also.
Right.
And developing that skill only will help her do trading or investments.
Right.
Rest, leave it to professional managers into mutual funds.
Right. So you mentioned mutual funds, and I think for somebody who's not doing their research, who wants to still make money, I think mutual funds and SIPs into mutual funds is the best way to make money, right? If somebody wants to start their mutual fund today, what would your advice be to them? That if they want to start an SIP today, what are the factors that you would want them to watch out for, and what's the first step looking like for you?
I think every time, whether it is in investments journey or any other decision in life, the first step is to do it.
Absolutely.
So what they need to really do it, start their SIP today. That is the beauty of a SIP, that it is averaging the entire period. So you are not taking call on market timing, which anybody, any which way cannot take.
Right.
You're not falling into those fallacies. You are averaging your investments, which will lead you to reach your goals. So starting a SIP is a minimum must if you want to start your journey. But beyond investing, I would like to take up one more topic here. When I say risk, one is the risk in the investments in the financial market. But risk to capital also comes when you are not fully insured.
Right.
So taking the right insurance for your life, for your medical needs, for your property is also an equally an important part of your journey of converting your savings into wealth.
Absolutely.
Else, some of these risks will eat away into your savings.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very rightly mentioned, Amisha. Mr. Dhanuka, your top 3 takeaways, because you've yourself been an investor. What are your top 3 takeaways from the investment journey that you've had so far?
Mahima, the first takeaway is panic is real. Panic is real. We should not act as a brave person, particularly after listening to NDTV Profits and other newspaper. No, panic is real because we are playing with our money. But don't get panicky, and that depends upon your entry point. If your entry point is very, very clear and strong, and you follow certain basic rules of the game, then you will never become panicky. One basic rule which I follow is invest in a company with 100% good promoter. 100%. I never compromise in this area. Now, 100% good promoter, panic is real, and third is by chance. If you have that courage to wait and wait and wait, like Mr. Warren Buffett is sitting on $324 billion cash in the bank and waiting. So by chance, if he goes right, it will be a big bonanza, and that's why my simple advice is opportunity meets preparedness, then it is called a miracle. Opportunity will come. You don't need to create that opportunity, but you should be prepared in 2 ways. One is bank balance, and second is your intellectual balance. Continue reading and reading and reading and reading. Something will come up, and what I believe, Mahima, if I get 5 good deals in my whole life, I'm done. Right. I don't need to think for 100 deals. That will never happen. So opportunity meets preparedness. Don't try to create opportunity. Opportunity will come on the platter, and continuously you have to prepare yourself.
Right. Opportunity will come on platter, but you need to know which one to pick from that platter. Very rightly mentioned, Mr. Dhanuka. Before I move on to the ladies, sitting in our studio, Amisha, one last question. I asked him his top 3 takeaways, but for you, because today's generation is the shortcut generation, one investment mantra that never fails for you.
So I have believed, of course, in quality, but quality and growth. That combination, I think, never fails. Because a number of times only quality stagnates so much that only the very deep understanding investor can stand by that sideways move. But when it is combined, quality and growth, it meets your portfolio requirement really well.
Now, we've also got, 10 members, beautiful members out there who are themselves also investors and are members of Millennium Mams. One by one, I'll ask them questions regarding their investment journey and how they have started their growth with Millennium Mams, and I'll also give them opportunities to, ask both of you questions, whatever questions they have today. I'll start with Nidhi, you first. Nidhi, he mentioned a lot of quotes and learnings from Warren Buffett. What has inspired you, when it comes to learnings from Warren Buffett?
So, Sir's taught us a lot, Mr. Dhanuka, regarding Buffett's teachings, and we've been reading a lot of his books and even the letters to shareholders that he's written. And I think one thing that stands out is to stay away from noise. Living in Mumbai, it's not always easy, but obviously reading spending some time reading and learning, that helps. So staying away from noise, and also you can't really predict what is unpredictable, which is the market. So, it's okay to stay back, be cautious, and see what's going on.
Right. Stay away from the noise. As she lightly mentioned, in Mumbai, it is not possible. But Amisha, if you can, try to break that down for us, for our audience. Stay away from noise. How does one stay away from that noise? Because there is a lot of inflow coming in from everywhere, and how does one filter that out?
So noise in financial markets, and particularly if we take equity market, means that when a lot of stocks are moving up daily and your friend says, I made this money, your other friend says, I made so much money, you invest here, this is what is going to happen, that is what is going to happen, all that, and otherwise, when the chips are down, they take it down to another level.
Right.
Either ways is a noise. Right. So what is not noise? Not noise is really seeing what is out of all this is going to impact the business, profits, and valuation.
Right.
That trio ultimately defines markets in medium term.
Right.
And if you set your sight right on this, then rest is all noise.
Right, absolutely. Shweta also has a question. Her question, Shweta, in fact, before I go to your question, I would like to ask you a question because you yourself are an investor. So far in your investment journey, what has been the biggest lesson that, you have gathered that you would want to share today on this platform so that, other women investors out there don't repeat the same mistake?
Thank you, Mahima. I think my biggest learning is to start early. I was not lucky enough to start as early as 11 as Warren Buffett or even later. But one message to all women watching this show, we have to start early so that we all can live to see the power of compounding of our investments. So that's one of my biggest learnings in my journey.
Absolutely. I think that is a learning that everybody should consider. And that is why, that's the probably, the message that we are trying to, get you through this show that, as a women investor, as anybody out there, start as early as possible because compounding otherwise won't work in your favor if you
I'll just add, without you asking.
No, definitely.
I just became a grandma.
Okay.
And to my granddaughter, I gifted investments.
Perfect.
Without buying anything else, I said, let me just plan from day zero her investments.
Absolutely. And that's the perfect gift that you can
Correct. That's the ultimate power of compounding unfolding.
Absolutely. Arshia, I'll come to you. You have a question for our gurus out there. What's your question and whom is your question directed to?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Amisha. My question is directed to you. I would like to ask, in such current volatile times, the PSU banks and the oil and gas, they are underperforming. So what would be a contrarian approach in such times for investments, if we have to look at it?
No, I wouldn't say a contrarian approach. I think the underlying principles of investments still remains good management, defined in so many ways, good growth at good valuation, right? So when it comes to oil and gas also there are many parts to it, but that business thoroughly is a commodity business. So you cannot make a compounding out of a commodity business anyways. When it comes to PSU banks, when you are extremely undervalued, say at 0.3 price to book, 0.5 price to book, yes, you will go to a slightly better, say 1.1 price to book. But their ROA, their ROE can typically always be lagging the private sector, which is faster in decision making, better in decision making. So if they have fallen, they have just come back out of the euphoria, if you ask me. And I would still say in this panic, you can't choose them. You have to still, because you're getting everything on your platter. You're getting better businesses at better valuation. So you need to do a little more homework, I would say.
All right. So Bhakti also has a question. Bhakti, who is your question to?
So my question is also for Amisha. The question that I have is that in the current geopolitical tensions and with the new US tariffs, should investors like us be concentrating or focusing on domestic stories?
Certainly, See, what markets are exhibiting right now is what we understand, or I believe, is that first a little bit of derating started happening. Then the economic slowdown, because re-rating of the markets were extremely heavy with huge new savings and investors coming in. Then little bit of economic slowdown. Now what market is facing at this juncture is even profits going to derate with the tariff structure. Tariff structure can possibly disturb your exports or bring competition through imports. Correct? So it can impact either side. But safer haven, yes, could be domestic consumption, but even that will require a little more deeper study as to how that segment is protected. One fillip which has definitely come is almost 1.5 crore people will have something like 50, 70, 80,000 rupees in their hand, which will definitely go into some form of consumption. And markets have just not paid any attention, and they are into complete reeling due to global geopolitical or other factors. Yeah. So I think coming few quarters, we will start seeing that stability in our domestic demand. So that's the focus to look at.
Thank you.
Krishma, what's the question that you would want to ask our gurus?
Thank you, Mahima. Sir, my question is directed towards you. So shifting gears from unorganized to organized sectors, how will the logistics and warehousing growth in India help Viksit Bharat?
You're asking me, Krishna?
Yes, sir, I'm asking you.
I am a big fan of businesses moving from unorganized to organized sector, and we have got the best example of Titan. They have taken the maximum advantage of this. And my takeaway from what you are asking is definitely logistic and warehouse will be the next big story from unorganized to organized, because as our Prime Minister also mentioned, that we have to reduce our logistic cost if we want to succeed in export. So a lot of things are happening in this area. Maybe there are very few listed companies in this area, but this will happen in a very, very big way.
All right.
So,
all right.
I'll just add here a couple of things.
Yeah.
So when you talk about logistics, that forms a very important part of the cost structure. It is between 8 to 10% typically of any business. And as you crunch that and make it globally compatible, globally comparable, your export competitiveness improves. So we are working not only on our ports, on our loading, unloading days, in our container freight stations. So this is also the chain which comes very handy, and automation and digitization of that. And I had done one podcast, so I know that India, in terms of port operating time, now is almost close to Singapore and Malaysia, which is a great achievement. Coming back to your question, you know, how this can impact the investment opportunity, I would say that anything which falls into this chain, whether it is a container freight station or something, their income model typically is rent. So it's an annuity business. Once again, you might get opportunity to invest in business which compounds. This will be you invest and you get some return, right? It can have growth, but always for growth you need capital.
Yeah.
You need to search businesses which needs less capital for growth, so the impact of compounding is higher.
Right.
thank you.
Right. So one more question from Meenakshi.
Hello Mahima, Amisha, Dhanuka ji, namaskar. So I had our guru Dhanuka ji, he has taught us a lot about his guru Warren Buffett. And when everyone is greedy, be fearful. And when others are fearful, be greedy. So Amisha, I would like to ask you a question. In the current scenario, how can we leverage as women the current scenario to create long-lasting and great wealth for ourselves?
So markets have started becoming fearful. Are they really showing a level where all fears are, when all fears are there, typically the levels at which you get is at historic 8 to 10 times. Markets are at 26 and 27 at 18 to 20 times. So there is a still time when you get just a complete sale which is happening on the stock market. When you get that, as what you said, remain prepared. What is that few businesses on your radar which you are getting at that discounted price, which you will never fail? We are reaching and approaching that almost, I would say. Are we there yet? I don't think so.
That's the best way to, end this conversation. Thank you so much, Amisha, Mr. Dhanuka, and all of you, all Millennium Mams out there. Thank you so much for taking out time and, giving us all those insights at NDTV Profit.